Hi everyone, Oliver here from Strangers Care. Today's video is about the ketogenic diet. So if you want to lose weight or you want to eat more healthy, then the ketogenic diet may be just for you. In the course of this video, I will explain what the ketogenic diet actually is, the do's and don'ts, what you can eat, what you shouldn't eat, side effects that can be a thing while being on a ketogenic diet, and of course ways to prevent that. Then I will talk about why the ketogenic diet is actually good for fat loss, why it's in my opinion supreme to almost every other diet. And lastly, about supplements that may or may not improve your overall experience with the ketogenic diet. But before I go into the details of the ketogenic diet, I want to explain what my intention is. In the past, I struggled myself with losing weight. I wore 300 pounds and I even had some health problems that were connected to being overweight. Even though I was very motivated and I did almost everything I knew was maybe a good idea, I struggled really hard getting this extra weight off. Maybe some of you know the feeling if you really push yourself, you really try to accomplish something, but it just doesn't work. This situation brought me to a pretty dark place in my life where I actually doubted myself and I had this underlying feeling that I'm not really in control over my own body. I bring this up because when I coached the ketogenic diet, there were some people who had like the same experience that I had. Because I care about you, I want you to have control over your own body again. That you actually reach the goal you set for yourself, that you may even cure health problems that you have, so that you feel better about yourself in the future. If you decide that the ketogenic diet is for you and you may be interested in testing this out, I made a video about the exact plan I used to lose 110 pounds in under 1 year without exercising once. If this sounds appealing to you, you may give it a shot. The link to the video, or should I say to the plan, is of course in the description below. But enough talk, let's get into the plan. So what is the ketogenic diet? In short, it would be you don't eat carbs. That's it. Bye. Just kidding. The standard Western diet would include like some things of the lines of 70% carbs, 10% fat and 20% protein. But with the ketogenic diet, you kinda flipping the script. So you eat 5% carbs, 20% protein and 75% fats. But your fat sources should be good fat. When you don't eat any carbohydrates at all, your body will use stored glycogen that is in your body, like for example in your muscles or in your liver. Just to clarify, carbs or glycogen is mostly used for energy. But what happens if you don't eat any carbs at all? You don't die, aren't you? Because your body is so awesome, it has a more ancient way of producing energy. It can convert fats into ketones. Those ketones acting similar to having glycogen in your system. There are like two major differences. The first difference, of course, the base is fat. And ketones are a more superior fuel, or should I say a more clean version of it. So you will produce ketones to fuel your body with energy. But this takes some time. And this is a little bit random from person to person. But it's roughly like 7 days. In my opinion, in those first 7 days, or should I say the adapting phase, it's actually not important how much you eat, so you can eat as much as you want. It's way more important that you stick to the main pillars. 5% carbs, 20% protein, and 75% of fats. If you want to have an estimate amount of carbs in grams, try to aim for 20 grams a day. That's maybe very strict, but this will ensure that you get into ketosis. Talking about ketosis, how do you actually know that you're in ketosis or not? There are two ways of actually knowing that. The first way, and that's the most direct way I would say, there are keto strips you can buy off a pharmacy shop or order them online per Amazon or something. And then you can pee on them and they will show you how much ketones are in your urine, and a specific amount says that you're in ketosis. Try them out if you want, but I never use those. You don't really need them. The second way of knowing it is that you feel different. This could mean you have stable energy levels throughout the day. Your cravings for sugar or for carbs is completely gone and you crave different stuff, like for example salt or even salad. Yeah, I'm serious. Or another example could be you just feel good in general, like overall, you're just in a good mood. If this is too abstract for you, then don't get discouraged. It's pretty tough to explain feelings, but you will feel a difference if you really pay attention. While we at it, let's talk about possible side effects in the beginning and beyond, so you know what is possibly in your way. In the first days of getting into ketosis, this adapting phase, you can encounter something called the keto flu. This happens because your body prioritizes pumping out ketones instead of supplying cells with key nutrients. Energy is very important in your body, and it makes sense that your body prioritizes making energy over other things. And because of that, you can encounter some of the following symptoms: low energy, headache, being really moody, or having back pain for a couple of days. But again, all those symptoms are things that can happen. It's not necessarily the case that they will happen. But this wouldn't be a good video if I wouldn't say what you can do about them, right? Increasing your salt consumption would be a very good start. Drinking broth or bone broth, and supplementing potassium and magnesium. If you decide to supplement one or both of those, I highly recommend you taking only pure elemental forms of those, so you can avoid hidden sugars or other ingredients that you may not want to have in your diet. Just shoot for the daily recommended amount of those. If you made it through the adaptant phase, then you're in ketosis, which means the side effects will drastically change. Your hunger levels will be low, even if you eat less than you normally would. Your mood and energy levels will be more stable than before. And because your body has always access to energy, well, because there's always a way that you have at least some fat in your system, right? Your endurance with certain activities will increase a lot. You want to swing the bike for 4 hours, swim for 6, or you have to work for 10. You can all do this easily without eating at all. You don't believe me? That's fair. Just try it out and see it for yourself. Saying that, if you don't feel good throughout the day, if you feel your energy levels are low, or you think that your emotions, they're kind of swinging from one extreme to the other, then maybe testing out a ketogenic diet could actually be the solution to this problem. All this talking makes me hungry, so let's talk about what you can eat on a ketogenic diet. Maybe you think for yourself, maybe I should try the ketogenic diet. But then you think, man, not eating carbs, for example, or sugar, I will have the worst cravings ever. If this is the case, I have good news for you. With adapting to the ketogenic diet, your cravings will diminish to a point where they are no longer noticeable. And for the other cravings, maybe, just maybe, it's not the worst idea to give up on sugars. Because having those insane cravings for sugars that you need that chocolate bar right now or this glass of soda, they are very unnatural and they are caused by sugar itself. Maybe this is just me, but I'm pretty sure you will not really miss them. When it comes to eating, just don't overthink it. You have your guidelines, I repeat them just in case you don't remember. It's 5% carbs, 20% protein and 75% fats. So you can eat everything that fits this criteria. So you can eat leafy greens, most vegetables, and even a handful of strawberries a day. When it comes to eating healthy fats, I mean olive oil, coconut oil, butter, avocado, some nuts, some eggs, fatty fish, or fatty meats. Saying that, you may feel a little bit discouraged because if you cut out a whole macronutrients like carbs, maybe you think you just have to eat the same stuff every day. But that is really very far from true. If you're willing to put in at least a little bit of effort, you can almost replace everything you like to eat with a version that is keto friendly. You can bake bread, you can make your own pizza, or make an amazing dessert. I'm not very big on that, but there are companies you can order stuff online like keto-friendly cereals or even chocolate bars. Saying that, the more effort you put in, the more variety you will have in your diet. This explanation about keto foods, they may be a little bit abstract, so I can give you an example for what you can eat in one day. That's, by the way, the same stuff I ate when I lost weight. Breakfast: a couple of eggs, a little bit of bacon with some mushrooms, some mayonnaise on the side, and one sliced tomato. Lunch: a big salad with all sorts of crazy things that you can put in, a little bit of feta cheese, and some walnuts on top. Dinner. Just some meat in a pan with some broccoli and cauliflower, added some extra butter, and there you go. If you want to have a healthy snack in between, you can eat a handful of nuts, maybe 20 to 25 grams of those. And if you enjoy coffee, as I do, you can drink a bulletproof coffee. At this point, it makes sense to recommend two things. The first thing is having a kitchen scale so you know how much of certain foods you eat. And when you start doing this, an app that tells you how much fat or carbohydrates are in certain foods would be very, very beneficial. I would recommend you just downloading MyFitnessPal for your phone, and then you can just type in the stuff you eat, and then you know how many calories and macronutrients the food has you're eating. Coming up next, I will talk about why the ketogenic diet is so good for losing fat. Maybe you heard about the hormone insulin in a different setting. It's get brought up in the context of diabetes or having diabetes. One important task of insulin is helping glycogen getting in our cells to produce energy. You see, if you eat carbohydrates, your body converts that into glycogen, and then your body produces insulin to help this glycogen into your cell to produce energy. Saying that, your body always pick glycogen over fat as fuel. So if you eat a diet where you eat carbs and fats, your body always will use up the glycogen before it uses fats. There are more than one reason for that, but just in case for this explanation, it's easier for the body to use glycogen instead of fat. Think about, as an example, you want to make a fire, and carbohydrates are those little small sticks that will burn very fast, but will burn out very fast too. And fats are those big logs. They will take forever to burn, but when they burn a pretty long time. But what the heck has that to do with losing weight, you may ask? Generally speaking, fat is pretty precious for the body. Even though we don't need that much of this, but it's, for example, essential in creating new cells, which is pretty important, you can imagine, right? Because of that, your body has a mechanism that the second there is a high amount of insulin produced, the body completely shuts down any fat usage for energy. To say this a little bit easier, when there is insulin in your body, you will not burn fat. You see, you don't eat carbs on a ketogenic diet, right? So your insulin levels are always pretty low. So low that your body always would tap into your stored fat every time there's a shortage of energy. So there's the first reason. You will always have access to your stored fat. This stuff you actually want to lose. The second reason why this is actually pretty amazing is, you know, this yo-yo effect that people have when they diet? They maybe lose 20 pounds, but then they gain 25 back. This typically happens if you force a calorie deficit on the body, but then your body gets adapted to the situation, but then you eat normal again, but your body is adapted to lower amounts of calories, and then you gain your weight back. This can't really happen on a ketogenic diet because every time you maybe not eat enough in a day, you only eat like 1000 calories or something. But then your body can always tap into your storage, right? So you will never come in the situation where your body has to turn down your daily use calories because you always have access to more. One more reason could be being not so hungry or not hungry at all. You see, if you eat keto foods, they most likely stick pretty long in your guts and take pretty long time to digest. This means you're longer full, there's lesser need to eat because you filled up. And the last reason I want to mention is energy provision. When you go out by your day and do your daily activities, or maybe you go out playing football, if you're a normal diet, you sometimes in between have like the feeling that you lack energy, and then you would eat something. But if you're in a ketogenic diet and you're in ketosis, your body can just tap into your stored fat because this is the source of energy. You will always have this with you, so you can push yourself harder than you normally would, so you can burn more calories in the process and ultimately lose more weight in the same time. My last two columns for this list are supplements and do's and don'ts on a ketogenic diet. So, supplements, I will go over them pretty quick. Starting from important to not so important. Magnesium, potassium, and sodium. As I mentioned before, if you want to supplement those, like potassium and magnesium, go with elemental pure ones. For the sodium, you can just take good salt like gray sea salt, for example, or pink Himalaya salt. That's, by the way, the salt I use on a daily basis. Next up, we have broth. Just buy good organic broth or cook it yourself. It's actually pretty easy to do. This one is a bonus tip, kind of. It's MCT oil. It will decrease the time you will need to get into ketosis. From my experience, it's like 15% faster. On top of that, it's a very, very healthy oil. And lastly, the keto strips, so you can be sure that you're in ketosis. But again, I never use them, but I know a lot of people, they use them and they really like them. If I only had to recommend one of those, I would recommend buy magnesium and maybe potassium. Okay, that's two. But yeah, whatever. Because I think they have like the biggest impact in stopping you from getting the keto flu. Do's and don'ts. I will go over them real quick too. We spent enough time listening to this guide, right? Starting with the do's. Be very strict in the beginning. Nothing is more frustrating than effing up everything by eating a little bit too much carbs so you don't get into ketosis. I mentioned that before, but aim for 20 grams of carbs a day. Eat salad and vegetables regularly. You may wonder, if you look up most of vegetables, they have some carbs in them. Sometimes even more than you normally should eat, like more than 5%, for example. But your gut bacteria consumes a part of that, so they have way less carbohydrates than you may think. And because of that, because gut bacteria eats this, there is way more healthy gut bacteria in your gut, so your digestive system is working better. So I highly can recommend that. If you want to eat out and you have problems finding something delicious to eat, just pick something with like a meat or fish base, then skip out all those carbs like rice or fries or whatever, and then have like a salad on the side. If you choose to have dressing, it should be oil based. Coming up next, the don'ts. Even though cheese has very good macros for a ketogenic diet, don't overdo it. It will screw up your digestive system. Don't eat too much meat, or should I say too much protein, because if you eat too much protein, your body can convert excess proteins into glycogen, and if you have glycogen in your system, this will kick you out of ketosis. The next step is maybe obvious, but I kind of have to say it, because the ketogenic diet is kind of strict when it comes to carbohydrates. So if you don't know how many carbohydrates is in something you want to eat, then just don't eat it. If you're being in ketosis for a longer time, then you will realize that in almost every food, and especially in almost every processed food, there are sugars or hidden sugars. For example, there's even 1% sugar in salami. Like, what the heck? Just pay close attention to the package and look what is in the food you want to eat so you can make a safe choice. Don't eat too much onions. Don't eat cashews at all, and don't eat cherry tomatoes. You can eat normal tomatoes, but those little ones, they have a higher concentration of carbohydrates, and this is actually too much for a ketogenic diet. If you have any questions regarding to this topic or similar topics, just ask me in the comments or join our community Discord. And thank you so much for sticking around that long and watching the video to the end. I really appreciate that. If you're interested in personal development, understanding relationships, or nutrition, you maybe should consider subscribing, because I will upload videos to those topics in the future. But it's time to say goodbye for now. I wish you all the best. Take care, everyone.